Today we are going to talk about solving equations. In your notebook, please add solving equations to your table of contents, label it page 28, and put today's date in your notebook. Then, in your notebook, turn to your next clean page and write your learning goal, what I know, what I learned, proof, and reflection. Today's learning goal is going to be, I can use the inverse operation to solve equations and find a value for the variable. Pause the video now to write down your learning goal and your what you know under the what I know section in your notebooks. Restart the video after you have done this. Today's notes, we're going to start out with some vocabulary. The first word is an equation. An equation is a statement that two quantities are equal and it contains an equal sign. So whatever is on one side of an equation has the same value as the numbers on the opposite side of the equation. An inverse operation are operations that undo each other, such as addition and subtraction, or multiplication and division. And when I think of the word inverse, I think of the word opposite. So when you hear that word inverse, think opposite. Let's try and solve an equation. The first equation we're going to look at is 35 equals y minus 16. The first thing we're going to do is we want to show that we're going to separate the two sides of an equation because one side equals the other side of the equation. So if you notice on the right, there is a line drawn showing that 35 is on one side of the equation and y minus 16 is on the other. Now we're solving for y, so we want to get it alone. So we use the inverse operation of minus 16 on both sides of the equation to get rid of that minus 16. The opposite of minus 16 is plus 16. So on both sides of the equation, I have to add 16 because my goal, once again, is to get y alone because I'm solving for y. The reason we added 16 is because minus 16 and plus 16 are inverse operations. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to notice that minus 16 and plus 16 cancel each other out. So on the right side of the equation, all we're left with is y. And on the left side of the equation, when I add 35 plus 16, I get 51, which tells me that y equals 51. After I've solved my equation, the most important thing for us to do is to actually check our answer and make sure it is correct. So when we do that, we will put 51 in for y. So my equation is now 35 equals 51 minus 16. When I subtract 51 minus 16, I get 35. So both sides of my equation are equal, which means that I've solved the problem correctly. Let's try another example. When you look at x divided by 4 equals 37, the first thing you should be thinking is that you want to get that x alone. In order to do that, we're going to draw a line to separate the two sides of our equation. So on your notebooks, write down this example and start by drawing your line to separate the two sides of the equation. Now, x is being divided by 4, so in order to solve for x, we need to do the inverse operation, which is multiplication. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply both sides by 4. When we multiply the left side by 4, when we divided x by 4, And now we're multiplying it by 4. Those two cancel out. So on the left side of your equation, all you're left with is x. And on the right side, when I multiply 37 times 4, I get 148. The last thing I need to do is check. So I'm going to divide 148 by 4 to see if it equals 37. And when I divide that, it does equal 37, which means my answer for x is correct.